Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the Leadership and Life Skills program. My name is McKay Moen and today we're going to talk about finding balance. Now in the last episode we talked about the big impact of small details, but today we're going to take it another route. Today's topic is about finding the mental and emotional balance in your life that we need as leaders and as individuals in order to do the best that we can do with our own jobs, our own roles and responsibilities. So before we get into that, let me just ask you, how are you? Now, often when we hear how are you, we just respond fine or good, or we kind of brush it off. You know, it's commonplace. We don't really think too much of it because normally we just use it as a greeting. But when we actually think about it, you know, how are you actually doing? When we ask that to ourselves and we try to answering it, that's the more difficult part. While prioritizing the needs of others above our own, it is important that we do not neglect our own physical and emotional needs as leaders. How you feel influences your attitudes and your actions. This is why it's relevant to make sure that you're taken care of, that you're not just focusing so much on what you're doing that you're losing sight of how you're doing. It's important to find your foundation. I think a good example of this can be found in the Bible, where it says in Matthew chapter 7, verse 25, "And the rain descended, the floods came, and the winds blew and beat on that house, and it did not fall, for it was founded on the rock." This, I think, is important to keep in mind because we know that storms are inevitable in life. We can't always control them, but we always can control how we respond to them. But that doesn't mean it's easy. But it also doesn't mean that we're alone in those storms. We always have people around us that are there to help us, people that have been there before, people that understand what we're going through. While we all might have something different that we consider a foundation in our life, it's important that we understand what that foundation is, because when times of trouble come, and they will come, it's that foundation that we're going to lean upon during those times. Now, I believe that there are 3 areas in our life where balance is essential. Number 1, physical balance. This means maintaining a healthy diet and getting sufficient daily exercise. And while this might sound very basic, it's important that we take care of our physical bodies because that affects our other abilities. As leaders, if we're falling asleep or if we're in poor health and we can't do our jobs, then who's going to fill our role? So we have to make sure that we're doing everything on our part that enables us to do our jobs, that enables us to have that impact that we have when we're out there filling those positions. Point number 2, your mental and emotional balance. This means managing your stress levels and reaffirming your self-worth day after day. If we're overwhelmed as leaders, it's hard to do anything. It's hard to focus. It's hard to accomplish our task. You can't think critically. You can't normally communicate as well as you might have. So it's really important to keep those stress levels properly managed and in the right place. Stress helps us sometimes. It keeps our mind sharp. It keeps us aware of what we need to do. But if it's too much and it's overwhelming and we let it take hold of us, we lose that focus that we need. And for that second part, talking about reaffirming your self-worth, that is so important, and I think something that we often undervalue exponentially, because I think it's something that everyone deals with. It doesn't matter what they look like on the outside, how confident they may appear. Everyone struggles with their identity or their place in this world, and I mean that's part of what makes us human. But it also, we can't lose sight of understanding our value as leaders, as individuals, and the impact and influence that we have. And area number 3 is spiritual balance. Now, this isn't just from a religious sense. Your spirit is that thing within you, whether it's your soul, whether it's your mind, or your consciousness. It's what gives you strength, enthusiasm, motivation to accomplish the things that you need to do. And whether this looks like taking time out of your day to just have quiet time, to meditate, to pray, to fast, whatever it might be, it's important because that's all about our human experience and how we take on the task each and every day. So make sure you don't neglect this important area of your life. Now, one of the main reasons I decided to talk about this topic of finding balance and mental health was because I heard an Instagram live from actor Zachary Levi, who, as many of you know, stars in a number of really big TV shows, movies, you name it. But one especially is Shazam, the superhero movie. And I think that's relevant because when we think about superheroes, we always think of strength and vulnerability, all these different things, but we don't always think about their weaknesses. We all have weaknesses. We're called vulnerability. That's what makes us people. And in this Instagram live, Zachary Levi goes over some of the issues that he's dealt with over his life that I thought were really inspiring and really moving. And something that he said, which is amazing, because you see this guy and you think, oh my gosh, he has everything, money, fame, power, whatever it might be. But he's like, no, none of that stuff. It's all secondary, because what means most in our lives is having purpose and passion and selfless service. This is what we do as leaders. This is what we're all about. We have to prioritize and place value on these concepts of what we do and why we do it. And in hearing him share his own story, his testimony of life, I saw firsthand the tremendous strength there is in sharing your own vulnerability, because it's something that we all have. And talking about your situation not only helps you conquer your own fears or feelings of self-doubt or insecurity, but it may also help others, because it shows them that no one struggles alone. Though each of us is unique with our experience, with our gifts and talents, whatever it may be, we all endure similar struggles as people, as human beings, and hardships in this life. But we don't have to do that by ourselves. And I think by him doing that, it shows something that I've been reading a lot about, which is the power of authentic leadership. Now, authentic leadership is living, acting, and speaking the truth of who you are, knowing that anything less than genuine is a form of falsehood and a lie. When we lead and act with authenticity, we create a standard for honesty in ourselves and in those who we lead. We always have to lead by example. And when we do so, it enables others to trust us because they see consistency in our lives, in who we are and what we believe. If we notice someone in our life, whether a friend or a stranger, whoever it might be, that is struggling, it's our job as leaders to try to help them. And this isn't always easy, but I think there's 3 things that we can do. Number 1, be persistent. This doesn't mean overly aggressive. It means that you're not deterred easily, that you keep your eye and focus on helping that person because you care about them, because you believe in the importance of helping that person. Point number 2 is be consistent. As you're trying to help them, be the same person each and every day so that they can build trust in who you are and why you're trying to help them. Demonstrating that you're the type of person that would put their best interests before your own. And the last is number 3. Be present. Let them know that you're there for them. Whether they need you or not, your presence and your availability to help them if that should arise means more than you will ever know. And that is why for this episode's weekly challenge, I have a 2-part challenge. Number 1 is to designate a sidekick in your life. We were talking about superheroes before. It's always important to have a sidekick. Someone that you can talk to and turn to you in your life. So think about who that person is. They'll help you when it matters most. And then number 2, maybe you don't have that person in life, or even if you do, become a sidekick to someone else. If you understand the value of what that means to you, be that to someone else. Listen to someone. Lend your support when it's needed, and be there for them because you care about them and you care about their well-being. I think I could summarize and conclude today's message by saying, in order to share peace with others, we must first establish peace within ourselves. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope this message was helpful and useful in your journey toward becoming a better leader.